By the end of this episode of 2-Minute Mastery, you'll have transformed into a Salesforce field naming expert who creates fast and accurate data maps. How can this transformation happen so quickly? Because you're going to see how the secret to creating perfectly performing maps is by using the field API names, not labels. This strategy takes advantage of Data Loader's auto match feature so you don't spend valuable time manually mapping. And personally, I don't want to spend a minute longer than necessary in Data Loader. Its UI is straight out of 1989 and gives DOS and floppy disk vibes. And yes, I would know. This is me in 1989 getting first-hand experience on that kind of tech. And of course, speed is good, but is that negated by the time it takes to place API names in the map? No, I don't think so. The way I see it, what's the point of going fast if I'm going the wrong way? You want API names to guarantee mapping accuracy. API names are unique. Labels don't have to be. I spend a little time up front adding API names so I don't have to spend time on the back end fixing issues due to mapping mistakes. And mapping mistakes, I've made plenty. I'm hoping that sharing what I've learned from 18 years of data migrations will help you skip the newbie mistakes that cost time and money and set you up for your greatest success. In 2 minutes time, you'll be a field naming expert ready to create highly effective data loading maps. So let's start the timer and jump in. Every field in Salesforce has a label and a name. The label is what users see in the UI. In this example, we created a custom field on the contact called favorite color. When we create a field, its field name, also called API name, is automatically populated based on its label, but modified to meet API naming rules. One of these rules is that no characters are allowed in the field name. Any question marks, dashes, etc. from the label will not appear in the name. Another rule is that field names cannot begin with a number, so Salesforce inserts an X into the beginning of the field name. The next rule is that field names cannot contain spaces. Salesforce replaces these spaces with underscores. Speaking of underscores, using one in the field name is fine, but not at the end of the field name. 2 or more underscores in a field name is also fine, but they can't be consecutive. The final rule to consider is that all field names on an object must be unique. Why? To support Apex code, merge fields, integrations, and other functionality that relies on uniqueness. For example, here we have 2 fields with the same label of favorite color, but each has its own unique API name. So how should we set up our contact map to accurately load the color data? A common real-world example of this is where an installed package, like financial services, has its own version of a field. The label is the same as the native field, but Data Loader wouldn't know which one you intended to map to if you're only using the label. It's also common to see that a field's label has changed, but its API name hasn't. You'll see this in orgs where a field's API name is hard-coded in Apex or an integration and can't easily be updated to match a change to its label. Let's put this into practice. We create our mapping row using the field API names instead of the field labels. This way, there's no possibility of mapping favorite color data into the favorite color 2 field. Data Loader only sees the first row in a CSV when it auto maps, so our first row has to contain the API names. The second row in this sheet contains field labels. They're not required for the map, but they're helpful for spot checking and for reviewing data maps with your clients. In this example, we're going to use a file to update the favorite color and favorite color fields of our contacts. If we take a look at our API names, we can see which field is favorite color and favorite color 2. In our file, we've added an X in front of any of the fields that we don't want to map to, and in our first row, we've used the API names to identify favorite color and favorite color 2. We don't need row 2, so we can either leave it as is and let it air out, or if we want to clean load, we can delete it. Click Save, and then choose Upsert in our data loader, choose the contact object, and then browse for our file. Once we click Next, we're going to select the field for matching on the contact, which is Legacy ID. Click Next. Because we've taken the time to create a very clear mapping document, Data Loader has auto-matched our fields, and we can click Next, choose our output folder, and then Finish. We have 1 upsert and 0 errors, so let's take a look at our Salesforce record and click Refresh. Here we can see that Kim's favorite color is green and her other favorite color is blue, just like our data reflects. On the next 2-Minute Mastery, I'll show you how to use free apps to grab field API names so map creation goes a lot faster.